Previously I told you that I had some problems with one variation, and it's variation if they capture by pawn on d5. Of course, we play d5 to attack that knight, and we give up the bishop pair, taking on h3. Then knight bd7, knight c3, bishop d6, bishop g2. It's normal reaction, but most of guys to put this bishop on g2 before they make short castle, because they want to have the safe king. And this is the moment where I used to make mistakes. I used to play castle, and somehow when I play castle, let's say those guys do just like f4, and I play knight g6, and then they just go with castle. In these type of positions, looks like they somehow managed to play e4 very easily. Afterwards e5. They also have the bishop pair, and my experience was very, very bad in these positions. And that's how I actually realized that after bishop h3, g takes, knight bd7, bishop d6, we just have to go with this early knight g6. What's the point? They can never push e4 first, because then we would have like full control of the dark squares for the rest of the game. So this one is definitely out of option for white. In case they go castle, castle, and now they go with f4. Actually, we had this position previously somehow. Here, you have to make this move f5. Simply, it's mandatory variation. But my problem was that I always had somehow my knight on e5, and they always managed to play. But look what is like precise order moves. If I make castle, and they make castle, and I just make a random move like rook e8, they just go f4, this one, and this one, and I can resign the game because they have a full center, they have a bishop pair, they have a threat of e5. I don't have any tactics. The point is, when you move your knight back to g6, they will never be able to play 4 because we have control of the dark squares, and you just place your knight on f4, knight on e5, and so on. In case they go castle, castle, and now f4, you go f5, and then you stop and prevent this move. When you play f5, then you get an upper hand afterwards, maybe with rook e8, queen e7, and bishop c5. After queen e2, knight h4, knight e4, and f5. I like this approach. This was Grandmaster Delgado Ramirez who played this variation, and I like this approach. He gave up the bishop pair and used his knights against this pretty blocked bishops on c1 and g2. Also, these pawns are broken. King is kind of weak. Well, we have, okay, we're down a pawn, but we have a very nice rook lifting idea, rook f6, rook g6. That's exactly what happened here. Rook f2 and played knight c5. So look at the demolition of the white strategy. This is a backward pawn. This is a beautiful square for our pieces. Also, this bishop was kind of pinned. And if you ask me what should be the assessment of this type of game, I would say positionally winning for black. In the game was king f1, queen e8, this one, knight took on g2, and now he went into dominating knight against terrible bishop. After queen e2, rook g2 exchanged like everything and managed to win the game afterwards. This game was played in Uruguay back to 2011. Very nice game. So, all things considered, my conclusion is that they should be playing e3, knight e5, and knight c3. I just want to show you one more thing. Same variation may happen if they first play knight c3, you take and they play e3. I've been looking for good options for black in this position. I've seen like so many games with g6 here. That g6 approach, let's be honest, didn't bring like the best possible results to black players. Results were definitely various, but judging by type of positions that can rise, I believe that white is a tiny better. I like knight c6, and after knight h3 to finally jump with this knight on f4. And once again, I'm repeating, in my opinion, for those white players who want to treat the Budapest Gambit in this fashion, they should be playing from this order move. They shouldn't allow d5, what miodrag did, and taking by bishop on h3. And here, Mises, a very grandmaster with very original style, Mises from Latvia, who on regular basis played the Budapest Gambit and all those interesting openings, he played bishop b4. I don't like that move, because after bishop d2, very solid, logical, in order to keep the healthy pawn structure, bishop g4, take a look at this type of position. I believe that the good bishop on c3, open d file, fantastic control of the center thanks to this knight. I believe that these facts definitely determine this position into white's favor. I'm pretty sure that white is a little bit better, but this is one of those slight but long advantages. This happened in a game between Croatian GM Shulava and Mises like 20 years ago. Although after knight c3, knight e5, e3, knight c6, knight h3, I like knight g6. I like knight g6 because this knight makes sense to fight off the knight on h3 and to kind of prevent knight f4. So after bishop e2, now bishop e4 makes sense, d6, because it's going to be completely different. You can't make castle. Simply you can't make castle because after I play d6, hey guys, don't forget I'm threatening to take on h3. I want to break your pawn structure. So you can't play many moves here. You have to play knight f4. That's what I like about the idea knight g6. So when you play knight g6, all you want to do here is bishop b4 followed by d6, going after this knight on h3, but as bishop on c8. And also not allowing knight f4 by white. So after bishop e2, bishop b4, bishop d2, d6, knight f4, then we capture and go with castle. After knight e5, bishop takes d2, queen takes d2, and knight e7. Kicking the knight away from the center and fighting against this knight. It makes sense, and according to Ilescas, who was second of Kramnik, this is the only good approach. I like it, but not just because he wants to kick maybe this knight away with some c6, because that would just weaken the d6 in some variations, but he wants to reposition this knight on f5. So after rook d1, you can't play c6 because of knight takes c7, queen d6, and he played knight f5. I like it. I like this flexible approach. Now played c6, and now look at the strong knight on f5. He defends the pawn on d6. After rook e8, bishop d3, and Ilescas played queen a5. Very nice and important moment of the game, because he sacrifices this pawn for full compensation afterwards. So it looks absolutely fine for black. After queen c2, h6, queen b1, knight h4. Ilescas created some attack, played queen h5, knight g3 was a nice defensive move, and queen g4. After rook e1, played bishop e6, f4 was hanging, so queen c1 is the only move, and bishop f5. Position was equal, but even though position was equal, white lost this game in a couple of moves. So after like a rook e3, bishop d3, knight g6, he went for this weakness and played rook to e4. Very nice tactics to defend on f4. They can't take on e4 because of checkmate, of course. So they have to go with king f1, and after that rook a to e8. This rook e4 was decisive move in the game. d5, h3, and after that queen g5. They still can't touch the rook on e4. c takes d5, knight e5. They were threatening queen. I'm just wondering what happens if they take on e4. Aha! Take on c3, take on g5, and take on d1, and this knight has nowhere to go. Very nice trick. So after queen a3, Ilescas played a nice deflecting move, queen to d2, because white couldn't take on d2 because of rook e1 mate on the back rank. Otherwise, if he just moves the pieces, then he would be following with this main pattern. All things considered, these variations with knight c3, e3, and knight h3 are actually part of the same system, where white, in my opinion, has to play e3 followed by knight c3 here, or to play knight c3 followed by e3 and to play this type of positions. Position is maybe a little bit better for white, maybe even not, but black shouldn't have any problems after knight c6 and knight g6. Finally, don't forget, to those who play this early knight h3 line, I'm actually paying so much attention on this line because, according to my experience, a couple of guys, pretty solid guys, who wanted to fight off my Budapest Gambit, they actually went for this line. That's a common approach by club players anyways, because they always choose some, not the main lines, because they don't want to study like the main theory, but they actually want to find some side variations where they have like solid advantages. Here, that's not the case. So after knight h3, knight e5, a3, you just go with d5. We've checked like all these sidelines, except one more. It's the line with e4. A few nights ago, I played against GM. He played e4. I believe it was Lobran from Germany. I took on e5, he played f4, and I put my knight back on c6. This kind of system reminds me on Tango opening by black. By the way, one day I'm going to teach you how to play Tango with black pieces. And after knight c6, they already have problems because maybe they have control of the center. Maybe they even have control of the d5 square. But I also have my own weapons here. And my weapon here is good control of the dark squares and possibility to do bishop c5. So after this, they either have to go with knight f3 or bishop e3. Those who play knight f3, you just play bishop c5, and I'll show you a famous game between Bacra and Shirv. I'm saying famous game because Shirv, you know how strong in terms of tactics he is. And I'll show what happened in that game. Bacra played knight c3. But before that, those who play e3, don't even think, don't even consider, and waste your time. Don't even consider any other move but a5 and controlling the dark squares and preventing like before. So after they go with knight c3, you just go with d6. Logical developing move. a5 was also good. You have now good control of the dark squares, good control of b4, control of the center, like they can play e5. This guy played queen d3, and after bishop g4, bishop e2, knight a6, bishop e3. This was a mistake in the game, but I already have to tell you, by the way, I'm showing you a game between some guy Kastra and Alexei, one of famous tactician and strong GM from Canada. The point is, when they play bishop a3, you just have this nice tactics that Ivanov did. Captured by knight and took on e3. Point was that queen cannot go here because of bishop e3, and queen can take because of this nice tactics knight c2. So after like queen b1, you just take on e3 and position was already winning. Famous game between Bacra and Shirv was knight f3, bishop c5, and knight c3. So Bacra just continued to develop his pieces in the most logical fashion. Shirv played castle and played f5. Makes sense. Opens up his bishop, threatens f6 at some point, or knight a5 f6, or maybe wants to provoke f6 by black with some bishop g5. Shirv played e6, bishop g5, and played that move f6. At first glance, position looks very weird, but I'm not too happy with existing pawn structure of white. Even though it looks good, even though I even told you how strong is control of d5 in this variation by white, but still there is something actually, I would say, inflexibility of white position here. I don't like these pawns. I don't like this exposed structure. This really looks bad. After bishop f4, rook e8 goes after the pawn on e4 and the e file. Check, king h8. King on h8 is really good. It's safe, and you just have to consider that once they played f5, they just gave us control of the e5 square forever, and that's what Shirov did in this game. So after Baccarat played h5, h6, a pretty comic position where I absolutely like this pawns that create some sort of fortress against the, like in the game, and also against the white pawns that look at first glance okay, but I don't see anything concrete. In the game was queen d2, because he was eyeing at some bishop h6 ideas, but now I like this knight f7 move by Shirov. Bishop d3, bishop b4, not just because he controls e5 and g5, but maybe he wants to go knight c5. That's what he did, knight c5, and all of a sudden he's the one who focused and paid attention on attacking the e4. Queen d5, surprising king g8 move. He's using king to defend the knight, pinning his king, but he doesn't care too much because the queen is very next move gonna be removed away. Played bishop f5, and Shirov starts his crazy tactical game. Took on f5 to take on e2, and after knight g1, took on g2 as well. After a3, queen d7, very nice move, so he sacrificed the piece, and after a8, now he even sacrificed his rook. The guy captured, queen f5, came up with knight a6, took on f4, and after a5, a takes, rook d8, queen here, c5, Baccarat resigned the game. Great game, full of sacrifices, typical Shirov's type of position and game, and I really enjoyed this one. That's why most of guys who play e4, knight e5, f4, knight c6, they are pretty much aware of the fact how strong is that bishop on c5 is, and how nice control of the dark squares you have, and they just go with bishop e3. Makes sense. For example, I played 2 games, and that guy who played against me, I believe Grandmaster Lovren, he did it. When I came up with this bishop e4 check and queen e7, I was just threatening to take the pawn on e4. This is the way to go. So watch out, you just want to get a pawn back. I'll show the game that was played like almost 100 years ago, and this guy played queen to f3 to defend the pawn. d6, normal developing move, bishop d3 and knight e7. And now this guy just made a mistake, played knight e2, and tactics, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and I hope you found it. Knight e5, going after the queen on f3 and bishop on d3. Maybe it's like such a small amount of time if I give you 5 seconds, so from now on I'll say, so you have tactics, stop the video and find it, and then we can actually carry on with the lecture. Point is, after knight e2, queen e7, most of these guys do a3, and you always trade the dark square bishops off with bishop c5. Bishop c5, queen c5, or queen f3, it's the same thing. You just want to play a5, you just want to play knight a6, play short castle, and have like absolutely nice control of the dark squares. So hopefully you did like this first lecture about the side variations against the Budapest Gambit. And I also tried to very slowly and with understanding explain you what are you supposed to do. I didn't just try to give you like first couple of moves, just variations, and that's it. Actually, my plan was to teach you like fundamentals of this opening, and how should you fight against this side, but pretty bad variations. Bye-bye.